This video is for reflections using the algebraic rule. So we're doing the same thing that we did yesterday. We are reflecting these shapes across the x and the y-axis. So when we reflect across the x-axis, remember that this is our x, this is our y. So when we reflect across the x, we want to flip it this way. And then this one, we're going to reflect across the y. So we want to flip the shape over this way. And so the rule for that, if we're flipping over the x-axis, we take the y coordinate and we make it a negative. And so for this one, the x would stay the same, but instead of being at 3 for the y, it would be at -3. So that would be p prime. The r is already a -2, so it would move up here to +2. And then the q is a +3, so it would move down to -3. And then so our new points here, if it's, oh, sorry, hang on. If it's -4, 3, the new point would be -4, -3. Remember, we're just making the y, we're changing the sign. So if q was at 2, 3, it would be at 2, -3. And r is at -2, -2. So it would be -2, +2. So we're just changing the sign. If it's negative, we're making it positive. And then so if we reflect across the y-axis, we change the x coordinate. We change the sign. So here it's -2, 1. So that would be at 2, +1, which would be here. That would be a prime. B is at 1, 3. So the new point would be at -1, 3. And then C is at -1, -3. So that one would be +1, -3. And so that would be C prime. And so there's the shape. And so if we reflect just using the rules, we just follow the steps. If we're doing it across the x, we change the y. If we're reflecting over the y, we change the x. So here we're reflecting across the x. So my new point would be -10, -5. Here I'm reflecting across the x. So my new point would be -2, -11. So here's the coordinates that I'm changing in each of these. Reflecting across the x, changing the y. Reflecting across the y, so I'm going to change the x. And then reflecting across the y, I'm going to change the x again. So if sometimes we have to think, what kind of reflection are we doing? So this one says if we reflect a figure in quadrant 1 to quadrant 2. So if you think about our quadrants, this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if I go from 1 to 2, I'm reflecting across the y-axis. So point J at 3, 5 is reflected into quadrant 4. So 3, 5, 1, 2, 3 would be about here. So if I go to 1 to 4, I'm reflecting across the x-axis. And then point X is at -6, -1, and I've reflected it to +6. So here I can tell that I'm changing the X, and we change the X when we reflect over the Y-axis. And then here, the number that I've changed is the 3, from -3 to +3. So I've changed the Y. So in this one, I'm reflecting across the X-axis. So that's it for this video.